614 Startups Nation, welcome to another episode of the 614 Startups Podcast. My name is Elio Harmon. My mission is to help you attract the clients and access the capital you need to build your dream business. Like a good guest, wipe your feet at the door by hitting the subscribe button and welcome on in. Today, we're going to be talking about building technology solutions your customers will love. And hanging out with me today are two of my favorite entrepreneurs and some of the most supportive citizens of the 614 Startups Nation, Tushar, Kulkarni, and Morgan, Koth of Big Kitty Labs. Fellas, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having us,
Thanks,
Elio.
Elio.
love your podcast. And we've been big fans of Elio's podcast since pretty much when it began.
Yeah,
so nice to be here.
And Big Kitty Labs were one of the first checks we got as sponsors of the show. So appreciate that, right? You Big Kitty Labs don't only tell us they like the podcast, they put their money where their mouths are. So we appreciate you guys so much. But I don't want to take for granted, you guys are all over the place. You're at events, you're supporting founders, you're on podcasts like this, but I don't want to take for granted anybody in the ecosystem or maybe outside the ecosystem might be familiar with Big Kitty Labs. So I'm going to come to you first, Tushar. What is Big Kitty Labs and how do you help entrepreneurs?
Thanks, Elio, and thanks for the kind words. So Big Kitty Labs was essentially founded, so it was an offshoot of another company. When we started, we realized that there is a big gap when people are starting out. You do not know the journey of building a tech startup, and we ourselves struggled in 2008 after we lost or burned through a lot of resources. We realized that we definitely, since I had a development background and I used to have a business partner, Dan Rockwell, he had the product background. And so when we started the company, the entire goal was to manifest products quickly without breaking the bank. That's how we began the company in 2009. And when we started, it was started as a tech incubator of sorts, where we were incubating quite a few concepts. And it's kind of interesting that when you do something with passion, every now and then you get a break. And we got that break around end of 2009, which morphed it into a services company. And we started developing lots and lots of custom software solutions, very, very innovative products, because I've been doing this for a while and we've had a lot of experience. And so fast forward today, the company grew again, like thanks to the community and folks like you who are like huge backers of the tech ecosystem. We did pretty well. And then one of the things like Big Kitty Labs started to get known for is innovation. And what does that mean is thinking out of the box, trying to figure out like how you can rapidly begin the journey from prototyping level to to building something that is enterprise grade and that scales as you land lots of customers with and support the platform and keep them happy. And so essentially we became a full circle kind of agency that not only supports you from the initial stages where you're trying to figure out, like, is my concept even worth getting into? Am I attacking the right pain points? Is it even feasible? Because in some cases, things are really, that rarely happens, but it does happen that sometimes you're trying to take on something which is really not feasible. Like for example, we also coach entrepreneurs in that journey. And we're with them throughout the entire life cycle, not just from designing, not just from development, but in many cases, even from commercialization perspective. So that is kind of like Big Kitty Labs. And that's the reason why you will see us on mentor panels. That's why you will see us on, startup weekends. That's why you'll see us on the enterprise side of things. But it's been a 14-year-old journey, and we are very thankful for the opportunities that community and folks like yourselves have provided.
It's perfect because I love a story. Nobody gets successful overnight. everybody hears the pivot. So you started as one thing and you had to pivot to another based on market need. Classic startup stuff, right? So you're speaking the language of the audience. Morgan, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, I can. I don't want to take up too much time, but again, thank you. You know, talking about why we're here. One of the main reasons why we're here is because of you, Elio. What you do, what you brought to the ecosystem as well. So yeah, I got involved with the entrepreneur spirit back in 2005 when I got my first company, and met Tushar and those guys at Big Kitty when I started developing another venture. So my background is diverse in the startup industry, from multiple companies and still going strong with trying to figure out how to start more companies, and working with Big Kitty to develop their business and how we can help startups with ecosystems in the software business and enterprise system that Tushar has been talking about. And I can't say enough about Tushar and what a great person he is, and what a fun and joy time it's been working with him and doing the things that we're doing together. So that's fantastic. Talking about why we're here and what we're doing with 614. Again, it goes back to working with Elio and being part of what you're doing. And I think, you and I met a long time ago, probably about 7 years ago, as well, when you were starting 614 and dealing with those things as well. So it's been fun to get to see your journey and how successful you've come. And what you do and being part of this is really getting to understand the ecosystem and the entrepreneurs that you bring to the table and that are out there. And so having that connection within the community that you bring and we can do together has been fun and rewarding. So that's a big part of what we're doing and how I'm doing it with you and what we're doing together. And like Tushar said, is being able to mentor entrepreneurs, talking about, it's interesting when you get into it, how VCs come together and they pick companies, and we try to help them understand that, if VCs are very good at it, they would be doing what they're doing, right? If they were great at picking companies, they would be on the beach somewhere, not still picking companies. So we're trying to do the same thing. We help, startups, and we help companies, develop software. And, you look at it from the beginning, you're like, oh, we're not sure about this and how it's going to go. But some of the companies that you're not sure about end up being the best companies that you've ever seen. So we're here to try and help them grow and help them develop software and do the best we can and all of it.
Yeah, we're going to dig into what your company is versus what the industry might want to pigeonhole you as. Because I think a lot of times when people hear just the what you do, they don't understand the how you do it. And so they disqualify themselves. We're going to dig into how you guys do what you do that differentiates you from other firms that might be in the same industry. But before we do that, again, you guys are huge supporters of this show. But if I look across the ecosystem, whenever somebody else is having an event, whenever somebody else is having a program, Big Kitty Labs is either on the banner or in attendance. Why is this so important to you guys, Morgan?
You know what? It's really, one, it's staying informed on industry trends, right? So being out there, being part of the community, being involved in the community, being involved in events, we get to understand a little bit more about what's going on in the ecosystem, the trends that are happening, where people are spending their time and what they're talking about. So when we get to go to these events, sometimes, Tushar and I have talked about this, ROI on our time. And our events, sometimes are certain events worth it or they're not worth it, whether we're going to Cincinnati, whether we're going to Cleveland, or we're staying in Columbus. And it ends up that, you're just not sure because you don't know who you're going to run into. You don't know what you're going to listen to. You don't know what you're going to spot. And so part of that is going to these events and understanding the trends that are happening within Columbus or Cincinnati or Cleveland. And also understanding, the communication that's happening between people. What are they interested in? And how can we help their interests, and how can we help their business, and how can we help the community, and also getting back to the community a little bit too. I know Tushar and Big Kitty Labs is a huge proponent of getting back to early stage entrepreneurs, diverse entrepreneurs. So it's, hopefully I answered it, but it's all of that when we're going to events and what we're doing and how we're doing it.
This episode is brought to you by KJK. Tired of the billable hour? KJK has a solution. The KJK GC Advantage program offers businesses comprehensive legal services in the areas of employment, corporate services, real estate, trademark, intellectual property, and estate planning, all for a set monthly fee. KJK serves as their clients' partners in business, not just their lawyers. Along with cost certainty and predictability, the KJK GC Advantage program gives clients peace of mind, knowing their projects will be handled quickly and efficiently maximizing the return on investment on their legal spend. So don't go it alone. Let KJK help. Learn more by visiting kjk.com. This episode is brought to you by Rev1. Rev1's mission is to help entrepreneurs build great companies. As you navigate the waters of business entrepreneurship, you don't have to go it alone. A strategic partnership with Rev1 connects innovators to the talent, customers, space, and funding you need when you need it. Get started with Rev1 Startup Studio by visiting rev1ventures.com to learn more. Again, the website is rev1ventures.com.
When we began, we started as a underdog because we were literally helping people manifest products. Like some of the products we built, they were so fast that they were built in 4 weeks or 3 weeks, and these were not full baked products. But our entire philosophy was that we even till this date, now we're very, very different. Like you rightfully got that earlier, that we pivoted like everybody else, and we're a little different organization right now. But what happened was we began as a company that was like we will do it differently. We will sail with the startups, and so we're still popular because of that. So we were positioned as a startup darling, and we grew, but we still have that in our DNA, and that's why that has kept us fresh. I'll give you an example. I was on a panel 3 days ago, and so we must have, in last 13, 14 years, we must have designed, developed, supported, commercialized quite a few, like at least a couple of hundred products. But I was on this panel, and even now, like when somebody was pitching, out of the 3 pitches, one I was like, oh yeah, like we've kind of this has been done before, but we still ended up listening to 2 of them that were very interesting. So there's so much talent out there. That's why we try to participate as much as we can. It does has its toll a little bit but entrepreneurial life, I mean, you know this, it's a little difficult, but at the same time it helps you stay fresh and innovative, and that also weaves into our positioning, which you mentioned earlier, that how are we different? We're different because we have that 13, 14 years experience, and we've always tried to stay ahead of the game. Just because we love technology. Like yesterday, I was in a meeting with a very, 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 very like intellectual faculty, and just because we've solved so many problems, she had this very, very complicated system on her dashboard. At first, it was intimidating. I was like, "What am I looking at?" But in 2 minutes, I understood. Oh yeah, we've solved something like this before. There is a better way to do it. But she had been trying some out-of-the-box solutions that weren't working for her. So that's why we've had the experience. We've done games, we've done car-connected products, we've done products in aviation, we've done products in the government, and so it kind of helps us to stay fresh. Like I was, and that's why to your earlier point, we just try to learn as much as it's a constant learning journey in tech ecosystem. Like now we are all learning ourselves, like beginning last like 2 years, like everything about AI, and now the pace is increasing. So yeah, that's why we try to be present everywhere. And thank you very much for spotting that and saying that. But that is yeah, I hope we get to maintain that.
Yeah, definitely.
momentum.
I'm learning from you guys, and I think founders can really learn from you as well, because this is not easy, but nothing in business that's going to move the ball forward is. It's everything that you would rather not be doing: research, talking to customers, going to customers. It's not any of the fun stuff, raising capital from VC. I mean, that's hard, but it's everything that you don't think about that you need to be doing, that you don't want to do, is where you need to be spending your time. So founders, think to yourself, how many of my customer events have I gone to so far this year? How much time have I spent with customers, qualified or not qualified, in understanding the industry that I want to work for. And I love that. And I'm going to pick that up and start to do that on my end as well. So I was talking about your industry and how you guys are differentiated. But here's a key question about differentiation based on your model. All right. And I'm going to come to Tushar on this first. When should founders engage in a conversation with a software design and development agency like Big Kitty Labs? When?
That's a very good question. I was just having that conversation with a very, very young mind yesterday. So to me, where the journey begins is either you notice a gap, or could be a pain point, could be something where you're like, why is there no solution for this? And as it happens, this happens to me as well. Like it literally happens to me 4 times a month. That I have the bias. If I see something that is not there, I have it happens to me, and we've been, trust me, we've been doing this for a long time. I've been in software for almost 27 years, and I'm like, whoa, like nobody's probably thought of this, so I'm definitely the smartest, and so I go at it, and but we all know that there's ideas are plenty. A lot of folks have even executed it. Lots of a building business and all of that is a long process. So that's a great thing. So before talking to software companies, like if you really think, you have something out there, Google and internet is our best friend. So researching, and even if you see something, that doesn't mean it's not valid. It just means that, well, there is somebody there, so that means at least the concept is valid. So that somebody's attempting it. And then your entire goal is that, okay, how can I do something better? Which maybe there's a different market I can approach. I can approach with a similar concept, or I can bring price as a differentiator, and all of that. And so that's the initial journey, and then doing soft validation with your friends, with other some folks, like for example, Rev1 has a good model of like customers learning lab, like that helps you do some of this stuff as well. And so there are several tools at our disposal to go through that process before approaching a software company. Now, sometimes some folks, like if they, many times it does happen to us that folks directly contact us, and they're more than welcome, because we don't really charge people for discovery, research, all of that. But where it helps them is it helps them to get in that discipline of analyzing that idea to building a foundation that, so idea to a good concept to, starting your product journey, like going towards the building a product. It kind of helps you get in that discipline of like thinking, researching, putting it down on the paper, using tools. There are so many beautiful tools lately, like you can mind map things, you can do all of that, and all of that will help you understand your product better, instead of like relying on the tech company to explain you what your product is. And I think that if you do that homework and then approach the tech company, you actually will be spending money on the right stuff. Like you'll be building something that that will have less chances of failure. I think I hope. By the way, I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, you did. And so, Morgan, what are your thoughts on that? When is the right time to approach Big Kitty Labs, or anybody else for that matter?
Yeah. So just piggyback on what Tushar said, I think, ideating on that process that they have, the ideas that they have, if they have, it depends on certain founders that we meet, right? Some are technical, some are design savvy, some just have an idea and they're not sure what to do. So it depends on too what you are as a founder and what you have on your team. If you have a team that's heavy in ideas and low in technical savvy, then you want to come a little earlier. If you've got a team that's heavy in the the tech area, and they've got people that are writing a little bit of code, a little bit of UX, UI design in them, then you come a little later. So that part, but I think it depends on the software development company. But with Big Kitty, I know that Tushar and I both have started companies successfully and not so successful. So some of that, not only in the design and in the software build, but it's also in the we get back to the mentoring side of, okay, is it marketable? How are you marketing it? I mean, Elio, you know just as well as anybody, but somebody could have the greatest idea in the world, but if they don't know how to market, or they're not marketing, or they haven't got validation out there from the public, then that might not go anywhere. Younger people, I would say, feel. I don't want to put too many words in the early entrepreneur's mouth, but a lot of them feel that they got this idea and it's just going to take off. Once they build it, they will come. And I think we know here, in this panel right now talking, that doesn't happen unless you're very, very lucky, right? And that rarely happens. That unicorn that somebody saw has 5 years in the making. And I think that's what people forget, the young people especially. I was just reading that the most successful startups, companies that happen are the people that are in their late 40s, early 50s. And there's a reason for that. It's the wisdom they found that this is a grind, and it takes something that just doesn't happen overnight. So getting back to BKL, and when should they come? It depends. It depends on how much funding they have. It depends on who they have in their founders. So it could be a lot of different stages, but really talking about tech, talking about software, and getting with somebody that knows sooner rather than later if you don't know. Hopefully that helps piggyback on Tushar.
I think this is all relevant for the conversation around founding a company, because I think if I was to tell somebody this was like playing in the NFL, another type of reality would dawn on them. That they couldn't attempt to play in the NFL right. with zero conditioning, no weightlifting, not studying the playbook. They're going to show up at Bengal Stadium, put a helmet on, and play quarterback, right?
That's a great analogy. I've never heard of that before. That's a great analogy. That is exactly right. How it is.
It is. It's funny you say that, because my son just turned 17 and he's got this entrepreneur spirit in his mind, and he's like, I'm going to go out. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And funny you say that, because we talk about sports, because he's an athlete too. And I'm like, you don't know anything about this. And he's like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to be this. And I'm like, you know nothing about this. You need to crawl, right? Walk, run. And the young people absolutely forget that. They think I can be an NFL star because they can go out there and play catch with their friends and their hands are pretty good. I mean, that doesn't happen.
And when you think about it, NFL, the risks are like life ending, right? That's how bad it can be, right? Or concussion, or like nerve damage. True. I mean, the risks are high. Same for entrepreneurship. And the worst thing about entrepreneurship is you can't get the time back. So if you're going to spend 5, 10, 12 years of your life, you can't get that back. So think deeply and take this seriously. And at bare minimum, if you're going to reach out to a design firm, demonstrate you've at least counted the costs. What's the problem? What's the solution? Who's the customer, right? How are you going to get the product into their hands? At least, bare minimum, have a deck that demonstrates you've actually thought about this, and you're coming now with a base understanding of what you're hoping to accomplish, so that Tushar and Morgan can add context and experience. 2 years ago, we built something similar. Here's where they ran into trouble. They couldn't get it into the customer's hands. And I think your approach is different, the same, or better. So Tushar, anything you want to add to that on top of what I just said about them?
You actually covered this way better than we did, Elio. If you have that discipline, because it is all about discipline. Like I genuinely got into this habit so I was that person who would like just sleep at 2 a.m. and wake up at I did not have a proper structure before I started. Like I would not take this seriously. I would not but about 13, 14 years ago, I suddenly realized that some of these things, like you need that discipline when you're working on something. I've started so many companies, and many of them didn't work. I mean, the things didn't work out were exactly because of all of these things that you mentioned. And one thing I do firmly believe that you really, as a founder, because you're going to be wearing so many hats, you need to know, you need to be your first customer, and you need to understand that product well in and out. And so we're fortunate enough to work with hundreds of entrepreneurs, and quite a few of them are very successful. And I have seen that thread that most of the successful entrepreneurs are plugged into that industry, that domain, that product. They are like living it, breathing it. And I know this sounds silly that we also work with some entrepreneurs, they have no idea what their product is. And that cannot be the case. That very much cannot be. So everything that you said earlier, that is the guide. Like that, like one of the best things you mentioned is, which myself, like it took me a long time to understand that who your audience is, like understanding that such a simple thing, right? But many times you just don't think like that. You're like using events as an example. There are like 20 events, and if only 4 of them are relevant to what you're doing, you should be spending time at those 4 events than attending other ones. And yeah, you're absolutely right. Like if you do that, if whoever's listening to this podcast, if you do exactly what Elio just said, you're already on a good track. That means you're disciplined, and then it goes down to your sweat equity. You know how much sweat equity you're going to put in. Like, are you ready for the journey? You will be showing up every day. You'll have to be ready to pivot. It's at least, I always say this, that it's at least 3 years of solid hard work. The hard work doesn't end, but at least you start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, and I think you only prepare for things you take serious. Right? When I put it in the context of the NFL and Aaron Donald, right, almost 300 pounds, can bench press, 600 pounds running at you, you're going to take it serious. What we're trying to illustrate here is you're about to go onto some train tracks, and there's a train coming through called time, money, stress, family problems. That is entrepreneurship, right? Deciding if you're going to go to the event or you're going to have dinner with your family. Those are common decisions that you're having to make, and those decisions have consequences. So if you're going to do this, take it serious. But Morgan, I'm going to come to you about more misunderstandings. One, that it's serious. Two, there's a 90% chance you're not going to succeed anyway, no matter how seriously you take it. And then number 3, it's going to take a lot of time, a lot of focus, a lot of hard work, a lot of failure. What are some other common misunderstandings you see from first-time founders when they're approaching you or Big Kitty Labs about building tech solutions?
That's a great question. And getting back into that, one misconception I want to get on, and I'm going to get on the tech stuff, is that male or female, whatever it is that you're with as a significant other, is that's a huge part. And I think people misunderstand the opportunity that the spouse has or the significant other has in supporting or not supporting through that endeavor. Because a lot of the times, entrepreneurs don't succeed. Big time is obviously because lack of money and lack of runway. People aren't buying the product for whatever reason. It's not good enough. They just didn't market strategy well enough. Their business model isn't good enough, whatever that might be. But sometimes it's the significant other saying it's time to get up. It's time to get out. It's time to put up or shut up. I mean, we've all been through it. I mean, 3 of us here, we're not going to lie and say that our significant others didn't at some point in some time put a little bit of pressure on us, right? To say, hey, how is this working? And you say, oh, I can see the light at the tunnel because you're in it. And you say, oh, I got 6 more months. Give me 6 more months. And she's like, okay. Or he's like, okay. Or whoever it is says, okay. And then 6 more months comes and nothing's coming in. And you're like, I just got 6 more. I can see it. There's 6 more months. But there's a lot of pressure coming from the outside to you. So I just wanted to add that. I don't want to say that's a misconception, but I don't think that's something that's thought of, a lot of, and saying, I'm going to just be able to do this and I'm doing this in a vacuum. I'm going to have all the support. Well, that support is only lasting and only going to last so long. We've all been there. But to your part about technology, a misunderstanding about technology is they think it's a panacea. It's an all, this is it. It's going to work for what we have, when it's not. It could be the right technology and it could be the thing that gets you over the hump or differentiates you. But you also got to think about market strategy, your go-to-market plan, your way to revenue, your business model, your entrepreneur, your founder team. What's that look like? So I think one misunderstanding that a lot of founders have, a lot of startups or businesses have, is say, hey, if we get this new technology, that's the thing that's going to put us over the hump. But if you don't have all those other things in place, that's not necessarily going to work. And sometimes what they forget and misunderstand too is the UX UI design, that user flow. What's that look like? So when people are putting in technology, they don't understand the user flow or the interface that they're going to be working with within the customer base. So they forget about that. They say, oh, I'm using it. I think it works this way, without going into the market and saying, hey, does this actually work? Does this flow well? So those are a couple of things that I think are misunderstanding, along with that, those outer forces that are pushing down.
Okay, and I gave a statistic here to Shar, or maybe I'll come to Morgan first on this one, and then I'll come to you, to Shar. So Morgan, you got this one. All right, the 90% failure rate. Right, we talked about you're going to do everything, but does a working tech solution equal a tech company? Right, because I think that's where that 90% failure. Just because it works, just because it solves the problem, doesn't mean that you have a business on your hands. So does a tech solution equal a tech company? Why or why not? And what are the differences?
Yeah. A tech solution is just the tool, right? That's the solution that you're using. That's just the tool. A tech company uses the tool to go out to the market and sell it. So I think there's the misconception that people have is, I got this tech tool, I'm now a tech company. Well, no, you still need those founders to come together. You still need, again, the business model, the market strategy, the go-to-market strategy, the way to revenue. You still need the KPIs. What are you looking for? How are you doing? So how are you using that tech solution in that tech company to create revenue? Does that make sense? So I think there's the misconception or the disconnect sometimes when say, I got this tech solution, I'm a tech company. Okay, but are you a company? No, just because you have a tech solution doesn't make you a tech company. I mean, you can pick up your iPhone and say, I've got a tech solution, right? But that doesn't make you a company now that you're just holding an iPhone.
Yeah, Tushar, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. Oh, this is your questions are amazing, Fred. So, so, yeah, like I'm trying to think where to begin on this one. That's a very good question. Like, because I think if you were to ask me, to Morgan's point, so, like, tech is only probably 20% of your battle. The rest 80% is like, so it's everything. It's building the business around it, and what that means is finding people, somebody who trusts you enough to write that check, and then it's your job to fulfill it, whatever it is. Like if you're a SaaS platform, that has to work. Like if you have a service that has to sell, like that has to deliver. And so my funny story about this, Elio, is um, I have had quite a few ventures till Bikky Labs. Bikky Labs was the first decent successful one. Like before this, there were quite a few that some of them were successful but not really sustaining. But my favorite thing about this is that I remember the first check we got was like $1,500, and we're like, whoa, like amazing, like we are. And then like what happened was, okay, after that I realized that now we got to keep selling, we got to keep telling people, hey, we can fulfill, we can deliver on time, we can, our things can scale. And so it took us 2 years to turn a profit, and I thought, wow, that's it, we're all done. Turns out that was just the beginning, because scaling was the hardest thing. Like that is, we were not prepared for that. Like it took us, oh my goodness, like 4 or 5 years to start scaling properly. And even now we're still scaling. Like you're never done scaling. Like you're always like, okay, I need, I need resources to make the company bigger, but to make the company bigger, I need funding to bring more resources, and that vicious cycle. So yeah, like tech, to your point, like very true. Like tech is just just like less than 20%. Everything else is where the fun begins, and that's why so every now and then when entrepreneurs talk to us, there are good ones that have done that homework which you talked about, and some of them are, I'm happy when they ask me questions like, okay, what happens once the product is done? Like how do we work with you? Like how do you support it? How do you How do you do enhancements? How do you iterate upon it? And so when people start asking you about that, that means, okay, you're thinking about the next steps. I like that because they think, and I'm the victim of that as well. Many times, even I think that, oh, tech is done. I'm so excited, but selling is huge.
If I meet a founder that is having a good time, I know something's wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, how's it going? It's great. You need to be like, yo, I'm lost. I don't understand anything about pricing. I hate doing math, but I have to sit here and I researched 15 of my competitors. I looked at everybody's pricing model. I looked at the one that's working, the one that isn't working. I don't think I've built a tech solution here for the model because we're too top heavy. We can't make any money if we sell it at this. Like, it's all the dull stuff. For me, I spent all day yesterday trying to figure out how to make my newsletter open rate go up. It's not recording the podcast. The product is the newsletter. That's how I communicate with my customers. How do I design a newsletter? Where do I put these visuals? Things like that. It's all the dull, boring stuff that nobody sees, that you hate, that is exhausting. And so when we talked about, at minimum, having a pitch deck, the parts of the pitch deck that you'll be happy about doing are not the parts that are going to matter in the long term. It's the stuff that absolutely sucks, that sucks most of the life out of you, is what's going to matter in terms of building a business. But I want to pivot to a little bit of fun, okay? We don't want to be downers this entire podcast. Let's bring them back up, okay? Let's talk about some of the fun stuff that's part of building a company. And Tushar, maybe this is kind of the area of your expertise, the idea of an MVP. So let's say I've done the work, my deck is pretty solid. I have some idea of how I'm going to go to market, but we need to get this in customers' hands. What is an MVP? Because that word gets thrown around a lot. And why does it matter to an early stage company?
That's a question like we all like hear. I mean, that's a term we all hear a lot, like pivot, MVP. Some of these terms are. I joke that like anytime you're starting out, whatever you think it's going to be 4 times more. Like whatever you're going to need is going to be 4 times more. But you have to begin somewhere. So, for example, you think, oh yeah, I can build this you know product in whatever in 10,000. It's going to be at least $40,000. So you don't have $40,000 to begin with. You're like, okay, I can only spend $10,000, and so so some of the things you mentioned a couple of questions ago, preparing that deck, that exercise. So when you found a pain point, like let's say if there was a pain point, we all have information overload, and I always think that there must be some way, some utility, some tool to help us manage this information over. Like every day you open uh, you open news and there's like 20 new AI companies, there's like 30 new like startups, and how do you manage that? How do you, because you as you well put, research is the game. Like that will help you stay ahead. That will help you make a better product services. So I'm using that as an example. So I have to, if I have to build a product that will help me manage information overload, the pain point is managing that fire hose. So my entire focus should be only on one pinhole that will let me like, okay, maybe the solution is just create something that will give Tushar only Columbus tech news, not deal with anything else, not deal with, just begin with like something on the laptop. Don't worry about mobile devices. Don't worry about like Apple's Vision Pro for now. Don't worry about anything. Just get it. And to do that, you just have to do a little bit of analysis and decide that, okay, most of my users will be using my utility to read that newsletter or read everything read things on laptop. Let's assume like you ask, you question, you do research, and just that minimum viable like product, like that should not have more than 2 or 3 features. as a rule of thumb. Like, and so once you have those features defined, the best thing would be, even before thinking about meeting developers or anything, just showing it to your friends, family, potential audience, and get their feedback. Like, do you think, like, if I created this Chrome plugin and it showed you some only tech articles in your neighborhood, would you be interested? Would you like that? And somebody, there could be any those. If you interview 10 people and 4 of those would say, "Oh yeah, those 4 features you have, they're pretty good." Like, a couple of other people, if they gave you a little bit of extra feedback, add it to the deck, add it to the future roadmap, add it to other things, and then define that MVP, and that will help you stay lean, mean, and solve that immediate pain point for at least those 10 users. And then the fun begins. Then you build it, and then since you were so honed in on the problem, you'll be able to execute it in 2 months. And after 2 months, your journey begins. So if you made those 10 people happy who were your initial alpha testers, they will also be your brand ambassadors. They will send you feedback. They will send you, and then you start running iterations on it. And that's where your journey begins. So that's why there's that entire thing about, like, the reason being, because when you are designing something, there's a huge temptation of adding 20 new things. It does happen. It happens to me as well. Like, it happens, like, I'm like, oh my goodness, like right now we're working on this very, very interesting device, which we can probably talk about in future. And it was a simple device to track your pets. There are quite a few of those in the market, but this has a unique differentiator. And there's a huge temptation of, like, whoa, it can be used for logistics. Whoa, it can be used for 20 other things. But ideally, just fulfill one niche, make it excellent in that niche, and then slowly spread out to other areas. And then you can actually, and that's why I was kind of, I get passionate about it a little bit when I talk about MVP, because you will not believe this. Like, right now, we're working with at least 4 entrepreneurs. I'm trying to tell them that, like, if you are, like, trying to build something that takes on, YouTube or something like that, it's really, the odds are, like, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Just begin with, like, a simple image website. If you're building something, and then slowly increase your scope. So that's but that's the reason for just staying so focused. And you have so many tools to help you do that these days.
Hey there, 614 Startups community. We're thrilled to share some exciting news with you. This podcast is proudly supported by Loop, the game changers in return management. Not only are they revolutionizing e-commerce, but they're also on the lookout for talented individuals to join their dynamic team. Looking to be part of a company that values innovation and fosters a vibrant culture? Well, Loop is the place to be. Check out their open positions at loopreturns.com/careers. And here's the scoop. Loop has been recognized by Forbes as one of the next billion-dollar startups of 2023. Want to be part of a success story? Now's your chance. Don't miss out on this incredible opportunity. Head over to loopreturns.com/careers and be part of something extraordinary. Loop, where innovation meets success. Apply now. Support for the 614 Startups podcast comes from Nationwide. Nationwide's mission is to protect people, businesses, and futures with extraordinary care. To help fulfill that mission, Nationwide is looking to invest its $350 million venture capital investment fund in insurtechs that will help them create new and exciting products and solutions to meet the needs of their customers. If you're interested in partnering with Nationwide's venture capital team, visit nationwideventures.com to learn more. Again, the website is nationwideventures.com. Nationwide is on your side.
For me, it's interesting. So I actually just had this conversation with my daughter because she's a writer and it goes into screenplay. So MVP, right, it reduces the development cost because you can pivot a little bit quicker. It reduces the time to market because you've got something smaller than something grandiose. It allows users to experience your product and give you feedback. and positive or negative, right? And so I was talking to my daughter, she's a writer, and she's writing a screenplay. And they have these things called treatments, they have storyboards, right? That's basically the MVP because it gives you and other readers an opportunity, the writer and the reader, to understand the plot line, to understand characters, to understand a little bit of the dialogue, a little bit of where the plot, ebb and flows. And so that's what writers do. And we were talking about that. We were actually talking about an MVP and how that relates because you want to develop something small at first that takes a little bit of your time that you're putting your efforts into, but you don't want to create too much time and effort because you could be spending all that time in something that's going absolutely in the wrong direction. And it's right, just right with the screenplay or writing. Are you getting that feedback that says, you know what, this works, but this doesn't in the plot, or this is a great dialogue part and this character is great, but I don't understand the backstory of this character, and that needs to be flushed out. So MVP can work in a lot of different formats and a lot of different business areas, not just technology, right? So those founders that are starting up, and maybe it's not technology, maybe it's an apparel, maybe it's in a product of, shoes, or we get those people as well. All sorts of different ways, but understanding that minimum viable product that's pertinent to what you're trying to do, I think saves a lot of time and a lot of anguish too, really, a lot of frustration.
Yeah, and so let me flip this a little bit because I think once people think about MVP, they think again about the technology. But what's the MVP of the business? Should entrepreneurs be thinking about selling the solution as the MVP? Meaning, why even build it in the first place if you can't sell it? And I've heard these stories about people building websites with the solution, with the pricing, click to check out, pay for it, right? And it's like, oh, this was just our NV prototype to see if this is a problem big enough to solve. Thank you for the dollars. We'll either build it or you can request a refund. Meaning, what if entrepreneurs begin to think about that as the MVP? Can you, at a minimum, sell this solution before you build it? Tushar, what are your thoughts on flipping it around like that?
I don't know. Maybe I need to choose my words carefully, but but very seldom I would say you would have a fully finished product as an MVP. Now there could be some circumstances where that's it. Like for example, we had created a utility that worked on Reddit. So it was I built this utility to manage my Reddit addiction. I was logging a lot of time on Reddit. And I was like, okay, I need a utility that helps me digest the information faster. Now, interestingly, that was one and done deal. That was, I honestly, I mean, I could have applied it in other areas and everything, but I knew this was like solely for one purpose and all of that. But again, I could not have sold it. Like it was just like, developed as a hobby. But developing a product usually takes more than few iterations. So you're absolutely right. Like you're kind of being untruthful if you're just selling half-baked stuff. Because I mean, we all know that it's an oldest thing in the business books that you don't, yeah, you make some money by tricking somebody once, but actually good businesses develop products that you buy and make you brand loyal. Like, people love you. People need to stay with you forever. And then that's basic business practices, the lifetime value of the customer. Like that's what you go for. And you're right. Like if you're building half-baked product, that should be only used for testing if your theory was correct. So, some folks get offended when you say failing faster, but the entire thing is to see if what you're trying to build a house, but if even your foundation is valid, like if it's going to hold that house together. So yeah, like I have seen what you mean. Like I've seen that you log in and you're like, oh yeah, I paid like $10 for the subscription, but it's really useless. It's not gonna give me anything back, and I personally think that's untruthful to the customers, and they will never come back. And not to mention, most of the businesses, like word spreads when people are happy with your product or service. So that's not, you're going to lose out on that as well. So I kind of agree with you on it. That's I have rarely seen anything that was a one and done deal, like very rarely.
What I was alluding to is not necessarily being untruthful, but an idea that I'm playing with around a festival I want to do, right? And events are a lot of work. And you hear from people, oh, Columbus really needs a startup festival, right? Cincinnati has one, Cleveland has one, Columbus doesn't have one. We really need one. So my MVP wouldn't necessarily be it's a fully fleshed out, book all the locations, do all the hard work behind the scenes, and then go to sell tickets. My thing would be Columbus, startup festival coming. You could pre-order tickets. You could be a sponsor. And if we have these many tickets sold and these many sponsors by, I don't know, September 1st, then we will do the event as kind of seeing whether or not the demand is real or artificial. I'm not saying that you're going to not then do the event and just keep the money. What I'm saying is the build process is so intense, and you wouldn't necessarily want to do all of this and then have an event that doesn't really have demand, because people will tell you stuff and then and not buy tickets. I'm more positioning it in that way for products that or services that might make sense. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm actually pro that. Now, maybe not particular that case or something. But I kind of like that those tools in hand. For example, when you're launching a new unique product, you people have often started to leverage Kickstarters or Indiegogo campaigns to do a little bit of A/B testing to see, like, okay, is it like, okay, how many people are even, pledging to do something like this? Or so I think that's a great tool. That's a great tool. And I didn't understand the question earlier properly, so sorry about that. But you do have a good point. So these are some tools at our disposal that we should absolutely pursue. And that is why, like, most of the folks, like, they have those landing pages, and they see how many people are going to sign up by running some campaigns. And again, like, there are like several tools to see um, some conversions on that aspect as well. Like, you can use, like, the ClickFunnels being one of the popular ones. I've seen a lot of people run um, those tests by seeing, well, I think there's interest in this. Let me try running different advertisements or different, because at the end of the day, these are ads to see if it resonates with the people. And I think Elio, like, you bring up a good point. I actually had forgotten that. But yeah, if you absolutely have access to those tools, if you're launching an e-commerce product, you should definitely test that out. If you're trying to run a festival, Elio's example is actually pretty good. Like, is it really is there really interest in, let's say, a particular type of unique music festival or something? Yeah, there's that's the beauty of internet. Like, if you do that research, you have if you're really, really passionate, you will figure out, at least you'll have good odds with you of succeeding. But yeah, Elio, I completely agree with you, because we ourselves do that with Indiegogo campaigns and other areas when we are launching different utilities or products or things of that sort, and that literally gives you an idea. Actually, many car companies do that too. Like, they'll run, like Tesla, when Model 3 was coming out, they were like taking deposits and seeing, like, like, let's see how many people have interest. Like Cybertruck, similar deal. Like, car companies have started to do that. Just to, I want. I'm not saying that they will abandon the entire project, but it at least gives you. And when people sign a check, you mean that odds are at least a good percentage that those will, they will be interested in buying the product.
Yeah. So, I would like to pivot now to talk a little bit about brass tacks or the business side of things. Um, let's talk a little bit about budgeting for startup founders. If somebody has done the research, they've done the work, and they need help with actually bringing that solution online. What are some of the factors they should be thinking about in terms of developing a budget? And what's a good kind of range for building an MVP?
Yeah, sorry about that. Real world problems. Our internet just went out, so that's what happened there. It happens. One of the things I wanted to talk about, you probably hit on this because I might have been out, but backing up to that, validation of the market validation, I think is absolutely key. Just jumping on that because I think Tushar might hit on one of the things. We don't have a product done yet, but we're validating the product. Before we sign some bigger contracts, before we go out to the market and get ourselves in, a little bit more in the red, we want to make sure we're validating before we do that. And that goes failing fast. We want to know whether we're going to fail fast or not, because we don't want to spend too much time. We don't want to spend too much money in something that's not going to work or the market's not ready for, the market doesn't like. So that's a key thing. And one thing I want to touch on that too is failing. A lot of entrepreneurs get caught up in failing as part of their identity. And it goes back into that athlete analogy that you had with, we work with one of the products that we have is with colleges and universities with student athletes and dealing with wellness. And one of the things about identity is that's a big problem. When you're wrapped up and you've been playing sports all your life, and then people are like, oh, why hasn't he left yet? Or why is she still playing? Or why? Because that's who they are. Right. And if they don't do that anymore, who are they? And that's a huge problem when it comes to wellness and mental health in athletes, is they don't know who they are once they leave that sport. And entrepreneurs, I think, get caught up in that as well. If they fail, they're a failure. When in reality, we're going to fail a heck of a lot more than we succeed. But that failure of who we are as humans hits with us a lot harder, because we need to understand that failure. Because if we're back in the cave days, if a tiger killed our friend, we need to understand that failure, because we don't want that to happen. Or if we get hurt or we eat that berry, we need to understand that failure. And so I get it, it's ingrained, but that needs to be understood as an entrepreneur. It's okay. We're failing. We fail all the time. I fall out of bed sometimes when I get up. I'm going to fall. I'm going to fail. But we need to understand that that's just who we are, a part of it, and we have a good support system. And that's where the founder group comes in, because it's going to happen together. Get good people around you, because you're going to fail together and pick yourselves up and you move on to the next one. Failing fast is helpful. Back to your question. What was it?
The budget.
The budget. Yeah, so that's interesting. I mean, Tushar and I, we're in meetings all the time with people about budget, and we talk about what that budget is. And that's how we can develop an MVP for them, right? The bigger the budget, obviously, the better the tech and all the things we can go into developing that MVP. But we also want them to put that into marketing and put that into other things, not just the tech stack, right? So budget can be anywhere between, depending on what they're doing. Do they just want a wireframe? Do they just want some Figma? Do they just want to understand the UX UI? Where are they in development? And that could be $10,000, right? Or are we looking at something that they need to develop out? They've already got the idea. They've already got something that's designed. And that could be $250,000 to get that thing from design all the way to market, go-to-market strategy, where somebody's actually investing and putting money into it. So the range could be anywhere between, like I said, $10,000 for just the Figma wireframe, figuring out what that UX UI looks like, just on a beginner's way, developing all the way out to something that somebody's actually going to purchase and put in their cart and buy. So it can be anywhere, and I don't want to be, cliche or, non-committal about it, but it can be anywhere between 10,000 to 350,000. I mean, it can be way up there. And I'll let Tushar go on this because we see it all the time. And then inevitably we get the people like, we only have this. And we're like, okay, we can do something with that, but that's not going to get to where you think it is in your head. Does that make sense, Elio?
Absolutely.
There's an overall budget for the company when you're starting out. And then there's a tech budget. So to me, there's I don't have this formula on the top of my head right now, but there is a formula where that it talks about. So the entire thing is that for the first 4 to 5 years of the company, if it's a tech, most of them are. If it's a tech company, your first 5 years, your tech budget is, say, like at least it should be at least like 60-70% of whatever your expenditures are. And as the product gets to, and then you reach a tipping point, and then your marketing budget increases. And the entire thing is that, like, as to Morgan's point, when you're building out an MVP, I would don't quote me on these numbers, but usually your MVP should be, under 50K or 60K, because you have because at the end of the day, like you said, it's not a product. You have to be cognizant of the cash you're spending on design, on development, because the um, real thing is the iterations, like making it better, making it better, making it better. That's going to require cash infusion. um, Supporting it is going to require cash infusion. For example, we always talk about, like, not some products that you're going to develop might be might require high availability, like things like, for example, if it's used in if it's used in a scenario where it cannot go down, then you need to have that level of commitment, that level of stability built in the stability, support, all of that. So that's going to cost money. That's going to. I'm not saying other products can afford going down or something, but all of those factors make up your budget. And so your tech, and again, like, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't have a marketing budget when you're creating MVP, but that's relatively smaller, because you built it. Let's say you built it in 50 grand. Um, Ideally, you should definitely be cognizant and not go overboard and just blow through a couple of $100,000 when you're developing tech. Unless no, there are scenarios, there are platforms. So in some cases, you are building a decent platform. So your product is solidified, it's already gone through all of that, and then you are building an enterprise grade product. But let's say you're an entrepreneur who's run into a pain point, want to test the waters out, and in that case, your budget should be a bit smaller, and then you need to have a decent amount of budget to bring in those first 100 users, and then you need to have then get feedback from those 100 users, implement it, and then uh, run another iteration, and then another iteration. So some of the enterprise grade products that we've built have been are on their, I'm not even joking, they're probably on their 100th or 200th iteration over the span of 3.5, 4 years, and now they're amazing. They're amazing because they were built based on what users wanted. They were not built thinking, that, oh yeah, this is how it's going to be. This is a permanent. It's like building a monument that it's built and it's going to stay like that for 2,000 years. No, these were built. They began their journey somewhere, then they threw that out there to the right people, got feedback, and of course, in 3 years, 4 years, you're going to spend like a few $1 million just building it. But whatever you're building, you give a demo, it's gonna land. Like, your odds are you're gonna land the customer. So that's what I would say about the budget. And then, of course, there's the entire thing that you brought up earlier, that tech is just a part, like 20% of the entire thing, because you'll be having accounting teams, you'll be having like you'll be having CFOs, and you'll be having sales team, and you'll need ad budget. So there is definitely that good chunk of money that goes into that. That's why I I I I worry when somebody thinks that you can build something in 20 grand. No, that will just set you up for failure. That will just set you up for failure, because you went through $20,000, and then you're knocking all the doors, and then you will end up. Let's say you got you're a great leader, you got a good concept, bright future. Then somebody will say, "Oh, I'll give you another 20,000, and I'll take 60% of the equity." And there you go. There, you just lost the control.
Yeah, man. So, I mean, great explanations all around. It's like trying to build a house with 20 grand, right? The builder will laugh you out of the showroom because houses don't cost 20 grand to build, and neither do tech unicorns cost $20,000 to build. You might be able to get the land, which is your MVP, but somebody's got to come dig out the foundation and build this whole house. And a lot of that has to do with the market that you're in, right? What does the customer want? What are the features the customer wants? And are you working with them through their journey? Because guess what? The problem as it appeared when you built the MVP is also changing, right? These problems they don't remain the same. They are very malleable. They're flexible. And once you hammer the nail, guess what? Or hammer the mold, there's going to be another hole that it pops out of. So you got to go solve that problem for your customer as well. So great conversation, gentlemen. Listen, I want to wrap it up here. We could talk about this stuff all day, but we got to leave some for the next episode. All right. So I want to give you guys an opportunity to talk to me about what's next for you. Do you have any new programs, any new offers for somebody out there who might be interested? You got any events coming up? What's next for Big Kitty Labs? Either of you can take that one.
Oh yeah. I mean, this is so. Uh, uh, Very, very again, Elio. Thank you very much for doing what you do. We've been big fans, and also thank you very much for like this opportunity to come together, discuss. It also gives us a lot of good ideas, and so we have heavily from last few years. So we were always implementing machine learning and other solutions in our in the tools that we built. Like it's not new to us, but in last couple of years we have gone all in using because it's a new opportunity for us at an individual level, also for everybody that works with us to serve their customers better using all of these new uh, you know um, emerging technologies that are coming out because of the AI revolution from last few years, and also give them competitive edge. So we have fully immersed ourselves in that environment, and we have already been developing several tools, several like several offerings that we have now that are that are helping us change the way things were done and help people stay ahead of the game. And secondly, like one of the things that we've been trying to do, like with this workshop, and thanks to Morgan and everybody else at Hilliard City and like Converge team and everybody who came together, MEP and everyone, and we hosted that event. So that is the opportunity to, start bringing folks together to think differently because of these things. Because now we're starting to reach that, that I can see that in another 10 years we'll be reaching that tech singularity that everybody's been talking about. Like it is, or 10, 15 years, we're gonna be there because now we're getting this breakthrough idea. So we've been honed in on it with our events. There's a new event coming up, AI Rising, where we're giving a talk, and we'll be presenting some of the cool. So we're developing this AI sandbox with Hilliard. So we'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about some of the other tools. So yeah, it's a Elio, like it's kind of like a huge blessing for everybody in tech. Like last 2 years, this is a so I joke that whoever missed out on the .com opportunity in the 2001 and that time zone, this is our second opportunity to do something about it. So, but Morgan, like I know you probably have some good thoughts around it as well.
No, I just piggyback on what you were saying is that we're diving in, pretty heavy into the AI space as well, because it's just where, technology is going to be headed in the next 10 years, as you said. But one event that I want to touch on is an event that we're doing with Hilliard that might be, of interest to the people that are listening to this in the startup community, is that we're going to be hosting a pitch event where Hilliard will be doing a fantastic job of providing the winner with $25,000 of in-kind money where they can use to pay expenses, whether it's software expenses or other expenses that they might have that are outstanding. Not paying personal bills, not paying themselves, but paying things that are outstanding to help their business grow. They're also providing 6 months of office space for free to come in there and be able to work and to give them a jump start. So we're going to be hosting that event in June. So I'm going to be putting out some stuff. So Elio, I'll tag you on that. But that'll be a fantastic event, because a lot of these things that we're seeing, right, it's a process. You go through 6 months or whatever it is to, pitch out there. But this is, hopefully we'll get, quite a few decks and companies that are looking to, be part of this, be part of Hilliard's community and tech scene, which is I can't believe how forward thinking they are there in Hilliard, but being able to be part of that and being able to get 25,000 to be able to help support them as their journey moves forward and be able to have that 6 month of rent-free space. I mean, that is right there that night. I mean, that's exciting to me to be able to MC that and be part of that. So that's just something exciting that's coming up, in the next couple of months. So, we'll look forward to that too.
Awesome, fellas. Thank you guys so much for coming on the show. And I leave the folks here every time with my final word. And here's my final word, people. If you want to be an entrepreneur, take it seriously. This is an NFL level commitment, and you owe it to yourself, your family, and your future self to do the research, do the work, and talk to experts like Tushar and Morgan over at Big Kitty Labs. All right, folks, that's another episode. Until next time, peace. That's a wrap, folks. You can find this and all our episodes on our website, 614startups.com, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, and all your favorite podcasting platforms. Don't forget to subscribe and write a review. If you'd like updates sent directly to your inbox, you can sign up for our weekly newsletter on the website. To engage in the 614 Startups community, follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at 614 Startups on all platforms and join the conversation. For sponsorship opportunities and collaborations, email us at info@614startups.com.